Hello and welcome back to War Thunder and welcome back to a full-scale tank review on the Jagdpanzer 38T Hetzer. This is a very good tank, and if you like to kill enemies from a long distance, support your team and control the engagement, the Hetzer might be just the right tank for you. I will give you a full rundown of this tank, its stats, and also show you not just a good arcade gameplay, but also an excellent, nearly double ace gameplay in realistic battle, so stay tuned. The Hetzer, historically speaking, was a late war design, and it proved to be very effective in a defensive role as a tank destroyer. It is basically, to put it in a nutshell, a modernized Marder 3H. In War Thunder, it is a rank 3 battle rating 4.7 tank destroyer, and let's just have a quick look at the tech tree. It comes after the Stück 3s at rank 2 and is the first rank 3 tank destroyer. After it, the Jagdpanzer 4 take over the role of the tank destroyer line. And it is also a very unusual design for the battle rating. It features sloped armor with high angles and a good gun. Now the gun is something you already know since the Panzer 4F2 and the Stück 3F. It is your trusty 75mm PAK 39 L48 cannon, and you have 41 rounds to kill enemies. So I think that's it. Let's begin with the armor review. So the Hetzer has 60mm of frontal armor basically everywhere. The upper plate is sloped backwards at 58 degrees, and depending on the angle you look at, you have an effective thickness between somewhere of 100mm and up to 120mm. The lower plate is just sloped backwards at 42 degrees, and again, depending on the angle, the armor thickness ranges somewhere between 75mm to just over 80mm. Effectively, this is your weak spot. The vehicle itself is rather low profile, at least it seems like that, but the lower plate basically takes up half of the tank's profile, so to speak. It also sits relatively high above the ground. The side of the chassis is relatively weak with just 20mm, despite some angling here and there and some schürzen and the structural steel of chassis of the road wheel. This is very vulnerable. Every AAA, every tank can kill you from the side. The rear is also very weak despite some additional track platings. The roof, just 10mm. This is not very good. Even some tracks here, but heavy machine gun fire and some cannon rounds will go through and do big damage to you. Now, there is something about the armor regarding the gun mantle, and you just not have one gun mantle, not two, but three gun mantles that overlap each other, and practically it's unpenetratable. Most of the stuff that gets shot at you will bounce. This is a so-called Sauerkopfblende, pig head gun shield, so to speak. You might know why when you look at the form of it. And there are some weak spots here and there, but overall, don't shoot here if you have to face a Hetzer. This plating of 60mm is quite interesting. With patch 1.63, there was a change in the mechanic of how shell interacts with the armor. And it has to do with when the shell has a caliber that is 30% larger or bigger than the thickness, not the effective thickness, the thickness of the armor, it has a massively reduced chance of bouncing. For the Hetzer, it means every shell above 78mm has a reduced chance of bouncing and will interact with the armor. That has the following consequences for the upper plate. You have a very good chance of bouncing every 75 and 76mm shell. So if you're playing arcade, you can bounce the 75mm. Sometimes they will go through, but the Russian 76mm will mostly always bounce, except under strange angles. That means that the only tanks that will give you real problems and are your most dangerous enemies are the Russian T-34 85s, because they are around your battle rating. In arcade, you just can also see some German tank destroyers, such as the Dicke Max or the new added 88mm half-track with the 88 flak. But you can kill them all in return. Now let's have a quick look at the X-ray, and we can see that the driver, the gunner, and the commander sit all in one line. So this is practically your death zone when somebody penetrates here and kills those three in one line. You also have the loader directly behind the gun. The transmission is in the front, typical German design, with the engine and the fuel tanks together with the radiators sitting in the back of the vehicle. What's relatively unique for this vehicle is how the ammunition rack is placed. We have this small one here behind the transmission. We also have this one directly on the side of the vehicle, so this is just 20mm. It can get really dangerous. And also this one here at the bottom of the vehicle. Again, just 20mm of protection here. Should you take out any kind of ammunition? Well, it depends. You might die with the first shell from the side, but when you have a very good position, you can run through your ammunition really quickly. And I think that's the point where we should go to the mobility before we talk about the firepower. And the mobility is something that lets you down. In realistic, we have just 160 horsepower for a 15.8 ton tank. That means just over 10 horsepower per ton. In arcade, it's just under 20 horsepower per ton. That is not good. The maximum speed in realistic is 42 kilometers an hour. In arcade, I think it's 45. While in arcade, you will see it when you have just a short distance to run. In realistic, it depends on the surface you're on, and soft terrain is not very liked by this tank. You see it by the narrow tracks. You will slow down to just half the health. Also, climbing hills is nothing that this vehicle likes. So yeah, the mobility is not very good. Also, traverse speed is not very good. Then also the reverse speed is just 6 kilometers an hour. That is not very fast. You cannot reverse out of dangerous positions relatively fast. So just keep that in mind. It's not as bad as the famous Panther or some of the British tanks, but still not very good. Overall, it feels a bit clumsy, and you should keep this vehicle at long distances where you can control the engagement. And that has also to do with the gun handling. The suspension is also pretty poor when you break down from driving, because a target appears in front of you. It takes a while until you brake, and then the vehicle rocks forwards and backwards, and it takes precious seconds until you can get the gun on target. Also, when we have a look back at the X-ray, the gun can traverse more to the right than it can to the left, because there is this ammunition rack. So keep this in mind. The gun breech doesn't have the room to move around. We also just have 6 degrees of gun depression. That is just 1 degree more than the Russian standard 5 degrees. It doesn't feel that bad, to be honest. But also it's 2 degrees less than the usual German 8 degrees. And just 4 degrees less than the American and British standard gun depression of 10 degrees. So keep this in mind. Yeah, then what about the firepower? The firepower is actually pretty good. You have a fantastic German 75mm PAK 39 L48, and it has a decent rate of fire. Let's have a look at the crew, and you can see that I have full leadership on my commander, and also full weapon reloading skills on my tank loader. Together with the expert qualification, you get down to a reload of 6.25 seconds from a base reload of basically 7.7. The best you can get for a ace crew or a gold crew is 5.9 seconds. That is basically the same reload as you see on all German 75mm Panzer IVs, and also the Stuck 3s and Jagdpanzer 4s. It also is the same as for the American 76 millimeters. For example, on the M6A1, of which I did a full tank review as well. Now, you have a faster reload than the Russian 76 millimeter, but you are a bit shorter than the Churchill's gun by basically 1 second. But you know, that is not a surprise. But let's have a look at the ammunition. And we have 4 different shell types. Your stock shell is the Panzergranate 39, and to make it short, this is the shell you should use. You have just a high explosive filling of just under 30 grams. You know, you're not guaranteed to one shot, but at this battle rating you see a lot of vehicles. When you aim correctly, you can kill the crew with 1 shell, and yeah, you have a good enough reload, as I just mentioned, to put a second shell into the tank when, you know, it gets crippled, or the gunner gets knocked out, or the gunner and the driver, for example. And you have 136 millimeters of penetration, and even at 1,000 meters you can punch through nearly 110 millimeters of armor. So this shell is all that you basically need. But you can research the Hochladungsgranate 38B. It just features 80 millimeters of penetration. I don't see the use for it. Maybe against some AAA vehicles, but you should avoid them in the first place. At SA rank 3 upgrade, you can research the Panzergranate 40, which is an APCR shell. It features fantastic penetration values of 177 millimeters against flat armor, but you know, APCR works really bad against sloped armor. So the only tanks you should think about using it is the KV-1, but you can go through the stock shell with it as well. Maybe the Churchill 7, but you know, you have to be at close range, and it's not very recommended to take on this tank head on, to be honest. And I'm not even mentioning the HE shell. So I think that's it for this tank review. Let's summarize it up. The Hetzer has a lot of good things going for it. Bouncy frontal upper hull armor, good gun mantle, then also powerful fast reloading gun, and a rather low profile, especially in cities behind rubbles. Nobody sees you. Then what are the limiting factors? You have a relatively poor gun handling, you know, gun traverse speed. Then also the suspension, it takes you precious seconds until you get the gun on target. Then yeah, the maneuverability is not very good. To turn this tank feels to take like ages. It doesn't have neutral steering as far as I know. The acceleration is not the best, and the survivability is also not the greatest. You are likely to die with 1 successful penetration. So I think that's enough theory crafting. Let's hop into some gameplay. The first scene was on Mostok and showed just simply how you can hold off the enemy once you're hull down, hiding the lower plate, playing relatively defensively. I held the flank on my own the entire battle. It didn't help. I made like, I don't know, 9 kills. We lost, sadly, and I was just on 2 crew members left. Still, the Hetzer did the job. If my team had some more competent players, we probably would have been able to throw back the enemy. Now here on Berlin, as you can see, I made a decent job, and now I'm getting into the position that I actually want to go every time I'm starting in the north. And you can see I'm preparing myself here to shoot at this Stück. And I overmatched, not overmatching, but you know, the side armor of the Stück is also not very good, so my shell could penetrate and knock him out with 1 shell. So this shell is somewhere between, you know, being able to kill enemies at once by just knocking out the crew on very small vehicles, and sometimes, you know, the high explosive filling seems like it doesn't work. Also, the shell velocity sometimes lets you down by leading enemy tanks, you know, over long distance. I just couldn't hit this KV-1. And I just wait. I'm chilling and killing, basically. That's basically the title of the video, so to speak. Don't face the enemy until you have an advantage or you have the initiative. That's the basic concept of fighting with the Hetzer. At the moment you can see I don't have too many targets, but I don't want to get out of this position. I managed to track the KV-1 and got a kill assist immediately afterwards when a Panzer IV killed him. Now there is this 30, yeah, and I basically one-shot him by knocking out the last crew member. Yeah, you get very often when you're in an annoying position for the enemy, you have to know that you are a target of artillery strikes, of flanking maneuvers, and of course of airstrikes. And it doesn't matter if you are in arcade battles or realistic battles. This tank really can struggle, and you can see I bounced the shell, and my second shell manages to further cripple him, but I couldn't kill him. But 8 kills and 2 kill assists, that's a proper result. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle results screen for this battle. And we can see a nice reward for our work of 46,000 silver lines and 3,038 research points. Of course, I got a delay because I'm researching a tier 5 vehicle. So that's the Hetzer in arcade. Not a bad vehicle. But this is probably the part you guys have waited for, the realistic battle part. Now I'm here on the Cologne map, or Advance to the Rhine, whatever you call it. And I want to advance not directly to the cap circles, as I know I would get flanked and shot in the side and one-shotted, you know, the usual thing. So I want to be sneaky, I want to flank the enemy. And you can see how this tank, it doesn't accelerate too fast, does it? And remember, this is fully upgraded. This is the maximum you can practically get out of this vehicle. I mean, you will get from point A to point B, but it could be better, to be honest. I prefer the stocks, to be honest. And yeah, breaking those walls is not what this tank was made for. So I see this ASU 57 and one-shot him. Beautiful. So that's my first kill. Many more to come, I hope. And at this moment, I know that I'm actually on the front line. I should see enemy tanks at any moment, you know. So I'm watching the minimap. Are there any markers popping up in the near vicinity? Do I hear enemy engine noises or tracks or shots, machine guns, anything, you know? And so I wait, and I see something behind me, and I can see that a friendly tank deals with it. I expected actually to see at least 2 or 3 tanks in this area, but nothing, which was kind of surprising. And there you can see how small this tank can be. Yeah, it's not an ASU 57, but it's not a King Tiger, you know. It is good. It's good enough for what it should do. Again, this tank is more of an ambush weapon. And I watched every corner very carefully. And then I saw the Hellcat shoot. I see it. And it's a KV-2. One shot in the turret, I just kill both loaders. One shot in the side. Easy penetration, right? No Russian tracks. Whatever. But the next shell kills him. This was a good penetration. So, that's my second kill. And I was really not sure what I should do. You know, we are just a few minutes into the battle and already at the enemy cap circle. It's going too easy, to be honest. So the Hellcat has spotted something, marking it with a machine gun, and they probably have killed it. Or is it the T-34? Whatever, doesn't matter. I saw a T-34 57 coming, and I prepare. I prepare, I'm waiting. I'm in the ambush situation. And there he goes, and wonderful critical hit, killing both the machine gunner and the driver. And I don't know why he hesitated to shoot. Didn't he see me? I don't know. But the next shot kills him. It's actually a T-34E, sorry about that. For a moment it looked like the T-34-57. I see that the Hellcat is engaged with the AAA. Yeah, dangerous situation for the Hellcat, you know. They are arch enemies, AAAs and Hellcats. Now the one thing that's good about the Hetzer is that it is not too vulnerable for AAA from the front. From the side, however, it's very vulnerable, and they will simply shred you. Every single time. Every AAA has, even with the stock belt, enough penetration to go through your side. And even the shell sizes might overmatch you from, what is it? From 26 millimeters onwards, they can overmatch you. And I saw it, and I hope that this Sherman would reverse. And I see the Sherman, the T-34, a single bit of its armor is behind this, whatever it is. And I have all the time in the world to kill him with the second shell. So that's my fourth kill. Not too bad. I shoot him with the machine gun so that he bursts into flames. The Sherman just bailed out, surprisingly enough. I don't know why. I see somebody shoot at the side. And yeah, it was one of our tanks. And those pesky artillery strikes. I can't stand artillery strikes. I hate them. So, and what I'm doing here is just driving through the cap circle. It will decap itself. And the reason why I want to get out of there is because I want to lay practically an ambush again. Enemies, seeing their cap circle getting decapped, think that there is a vehicle inside it. So they actually, if I stay in there, know that there is something in there. And, you know, there are too many directions of where enemies can come from. So I don't feel comfortable staying in there, you know. Also, I would be a very beautiful target for any kind of aircraft with rockets and or bombs, you know. So I don't want to get into the risk. The biggest weapon of this tank is when it's in an ambush situation. That's what you need to do. So at this moment, I hope that nothing is there. At this edge, no, so advance further. I don't want to come around that corner because it's too close to their cap circle, and or spawn point rather. And I see that there is combat already going on around the spawn area of the enemy team. Their B capture point gets still decapped. So is ours. The A point also gets decapped. But I hope that my team will take care of this. I see this AAA truck, but I aim too low. I could have killed the driver. Probably killed him with that. And my machine gun just ran out of bullets. So typical, isn't it? So, and I see here a wonderful situation to go again lower blade hull down. And you could see how the suspension is working. I saw him coming, I couldn't aim properly, but I also didn't want to waste a shell. I mark the position where I suspect him to be for my team so that they know something is coming, and I just wait. And again, is this spawn camping? I don't know. And then there is a AAA, a Russian ZSU-37, crippling with the first, prioritizing the T-34-85, blow him up with the shell, and then he shoots me, and you can see he can't damage me from the front. And the second shell takes him out. Double kill. This is my 6th kill. Again, I shoot him with the machine gun, so he bursts into flames. I think this is a stupid mechanic in RP. It annoys the hell out of me. I shot so many tanks that were already dead because I didn't check it with the machine gun myself. But also the machine gun gives away your position, you know, and that gives intelligence to the enemy team so that they know something is around the corner, for example. And I just wait. But then my spider senses tingled. Then I thought, well, the Su-85 didn't appear anywhere. Has he, you know, turned around. Something is at B. Something is driving through B. And look at this turning. And now B is not getting captured anymore. Something has to... And there he is on the map. He got spotted by something. An aircraft or something. And I know what to expect. I don't know for sure when and where he will appear, but I know that he will appear. I looked around behind me if something is coming. And this is a situation you don't want to be in. The teams are close together, and it seems like he hasn't seen me. Up until now. Now he's dead. I was right in front of his face. 7th kill. Now again, I checked behind me, so I'm quite sure nobody is coming around the corner at this moment from there. I didn't lose too much time killing the Su-85. And our cap circle is back in our hands again. So the enemy team is bleeding tickets. They either have to cap their own cap circle again or decap ours. Or both. And I'm very carefully checking here the corners. Again, a combat near the enemy's cap circle, and the ZSU-37 killed our nashorn. And it's, by the way, it's called nashorn and not nashorn. It's not the English SH, you know. In Germany we write it SCH, by the way. You know. And then I saw something, a glimpse, and I dunked the shell into the wall, and my machine gun quite couldn't kill any of those two guys. I probably aimed too low into the tires or, you know, the deck. And I'm reversing. I will not give the side or the rear of my tank to anything, you know, when there is a AAA around the corner. And I see him reversing again, and the AP shell was enough killing both gunners. Both the gunner and the loader. That was my 8th kill. So I just wanted to get out of this bottleneck, so to speak. This is normally not a very good situation. There was not too much cover for me, so not the ideal situation. But it's late game, there are not too many players left, so I can expect to get away with it. You know, if it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid, at least in this situation. Don't try this at home, kids. So, the cap circle gets captured. Some machine guns flying around, I don't care. And then watch this. He gives me intelligence. I can kill everything at this battle rating. And then watch this. It's a KV-1. I prepare myself, and first shell kills the driver and the machine gunner. He kills just my engine, or rather the transmission. The transmission can absorb a lot of shrapnels, to be honest. So if he used the MD5 shell, it split that right at the beginning and letting the crew alive. So that was my 9th kill. And I'm left here for the repair for a few precious seconds. And I'm not sure if there is any enemy tank left on the battlefield. But at this point, I've done my work. And the first proper arcade battle you saw me in was the first battle in the Hetzer that I played since a few months ago, I guess. Since the crew replenishment module dropped, I haven't driven this tank anymore. And also the realistic battle that you can see here was probably the 3rd battle that I played, and I had a good result. This is effectively, if you play it right, a really good tank. It does have everything you need for a proper tank, and that's the end of the battle. So 9 kills, 3rd place, not bad. Let's have a quick look at the post-battle results. And for all the efforts, I got 44k silver lines and 3000 research points flat out. So that is the Hetzer for you. I hope you liked the video. If so, give it a like. Subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section if you have any additional thoughts on this vehicle, or if this tank review have helped you. And see you next time on the battlefields of War Thunder.